Hello guys, what's up? How are you all doing? I hope you are doing great and amazing. Be calm. Proven Techniques to Stop Anxiety Now by Jill Weber. Okay, so this book is pretty amazing. Alright, the book genre is health, of course. So it says here like 40 million Americans have anxiety. So you're not alone. We're not alone. Like 40 million Americans have anxiety. So symptoms can strike anytime, anywhere. Relief is here. Be calm targets symptoms wherever they strike with cutting-edge techniques that help you reduce anxiety on the spot. This book is pretty powerful, alright, and it has proven techniques to stop anxiety like forever, alright, by Jill Weber. So let's dig into the book. So let's know these techniques, alright, and try to apply them on our life, okay, because we all suffer from anxiety, alright. I mean, who isn't? Okay, so let's dig into the book and let's go.
Is anxiety running your life? A snake on a hiking trail, a gun in your face, or any direct threat to your well-being will trigger your fight or flight response. When this happens, the sympathetic nervous system releases a cascade of hormones, adrenaline and epinephrine in particular. These stress hormones very rapidly cause a series of changes in your body, including increased blood pressure and heart rate, slowed digestion, tunnel vision, shaking, and increased muscle tension. All this prepares you for a full-throttle physical response to danger. These changes come together in an instant to create a singular focus on survival. When anxiety is appropriate, as in the case of the snake or the gun, this physiological response is normal because it prepares us to respond to the potential threat. Even when the perceived danger isn't life-threatening, anxiety can still be helpful. For example, a student might need to achieve a certain score on a test in order to be accepted into medical school. His anxiety motivates him to study, take a test prep course, and spend considerable time on practice exams. The fear of failure can energize and focus him on the hard work ahead. Anxiety becomes a problem when a person's fight or flight response is triggered by cues that are not threatening at all, either physically or otherwise. For instance, the person who obsessively worries about their health even though tests have ruled out a medical condition. This person is unable to be present with the people around them because they're constantly preoccupied with what might or might not be going on medically. Anxiety isn't just a problem of overreacting to things happening around us. Our anxiety response can be triggered by things that exist only in our minds. This happens when we worry about and anticipate what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, which may never come to be. Consider the person who feels insecure and frets relentlessly about the possibility of doing something wrong socially and being embarrassed. Eventually, their social world becomes smaller and smaller. They may no longer go to social events and may even stop opening up to people they've known for a long time. If you're reading this summary, you likely struggle with anxiety in some way. But you may still have questions about whether or not anxiety is a problem for you, or about how serious a problem it is. There are some general ways to assess if you're dealing with problematic anxiety or just the normal fears that arise in life from time to time. Anxiety is adaptive when it comes in response to an in-the-moment fear of risk in your immediate environment. Anxiety is maladaptive when it becomes a chronic state of tension, worry, and/or avoidance behavior, all of which negatively impact your life and functioning. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America estimates that 40 million people suffer from anxiety disorders, which are the most common issues that bring people to therapy. Thanks to decades of research, we know a good deal about how to treat them. The techniques in this book are taken mainly from 3 scientifically tested and proven effective interventions. The author is a clinician and someone who struggles with anxiety. He has personally found relief using these specific approaches, and so have many of his clients. I believe you will too. Are you suppressing your emotions? The more you push away your emotions, the more anxious you become. The more we avoid or push away our emotions, the more anxious we become. This self-defeating process is a learned habit that actually worsens anxiety over time, in part because it reinforces anxious thoughts and anxiety-driven behavior. This happens because to keep the unwanted emotion at bay, we have to work at avoidance continually. Over time, keeping up this avoidance becomes something else we're anxious about. When we, despite our best efforts, drop our guard even for a moment, the pushed-away emotions come flooding in, and we again anxiously push them away. On this merry-go-round, the original negative emotion goes unaddressed, and we remain ill at ease and hypervigilant. When you're feeling strong emotions, finding a way to express those feelings can go a long way toward helping you move through them. There are countless benefits in talking about our feelings with another person. For example, in the author's practice, when a person comes into a therapy session feeling upset or anxious, they allow themselves to talk about their feelings for 50 minutes, and they leave feeling significantly better. Many often say, "That's too easy. How can merely talking make such a difference?" The answer is that the act of talking, labeling, and expressing moves emotional information from your emotional brain to your frontal lobe, which helps you better understand yourself and feel more in control of your emotions, which makes you feel better. Choose a person with whom you can discuss your feelings. Try to look the person in the eyes while expressing yourself, because maintaining eye contact with a supportive connection will further soothe your nervous system. Emotional relief can come by talking with others with whom you have very little intimacy or contact, such as a therapist or support group. Even talking online with someone you don't know that well may help you feel more accepted and less anxious. When we don't express negative experiences, they become internalized. We try to problem solve the upset in an internal vacuum, which results in overthinking and a sense that we can't turn our minds off. Without a release valve, all those negative, doomsday thoughts just keep bouncing around inside our heads. Take the example of Xander, a typical patient in my psychotherapy practice, who is grief-stricken by the death of a loved one. Instead of expressing his feelings and allowing himself to be openly sad, he suppresses his pain. Seemingly out of nowhere, Xander finds himself obsessing about the details of the loved one's medical expenses, funeral, and the what-ifs now that the loved one is deceased. Over time, his world becomes smaller and smaller. He is afraid to go out and spends most of his time at home ruminating, working through negative events by mentally replaying them again and again. Anxiety impacts physical functioning, and your physical functioning influences your emotional state. Anxiety impacts the brain, and the brain impacts anxiety. In other words, emotions influence our physical functioning, and our physical functioning influences our emotional states. Improving our overall physical functioning and body awareness can make all the difference. The body's stress system, combined with heredity and environmental experiences over time, can set the stage for a variety of chronic medical conditions. Persistent exposure to stress through psychological trauma, grief and loss, life transitions, habitual worry, and chronic perfectionism can cripple the adrenal system. The adrenal glands overwork to manage the ongoing stress, and then eventually give way and underwork. The result creates a roller coaster of anxiety spikes followed by exhaustion. Exhaustion can lead to a variety of medical diagnoses. Anxiety is also linked with the release of stress hormones and chemicals that, over time, can worsen medical conditions. For example, research is showing that stress and chronic pain are likely linked to the same neuronal pathway. Nerve pain increases the expression of the neurotransmitter PACAP, which is the same neurotransmitter the brain releases in reaction to stress. In other words, stress can bring on and/or worsen physical pain symptoms. The body's biological response to stress can also significantly impact our cardiovascular, digestive, respiratory, and endocrine systems. In a large meta-analysis examining over 20 studies and about 250,000 individuals, researchers found that anxiety was associated with a 26% increased risk of coronary heart disease and a 48% increased risk of death due to a cardiac-related incident. Strategy: the mind-body connection. Remember the last time you were genuinely frightened. When it happened, you probably experienced an increase in your heart rate, change in your breathing pattern, or became sweaty, shaky, or jittery. These physical symptoms may have then reinforced your original fearful thoughts. The mind and the body constantly communicate. If your mind is filled with a sense of emotional peace, you are much better equipped to handle medical, physical challenges. The mind-body connection is empowering because your anxiety symptoms will likely improve, or even disappear, simply by taking good, consistent care of yourself. Healthy sleep, exercise, and nutrition habits usually swiftly improve anxiety symptoms. Strategy: exercise. Anxious energy needs a release, or it will continue to run amok. Adding regular exercise into your life will pay off. 30 minutes of aerobic exercise 5 days a week will lessen your stress, increase your self-esteem, improve your sleep, and improve your physical and emotional functioning. Feeling good about yourself means you're more likely to cope well because you believe in your ability to do so. Exercise also increases endorphins, the body's natural painkiller, and decreases the stress hormone cortisol. It's worth it. And if 30 minutes feels like too much too quickly, keep in mind that research is showing that even a 20-minute vigorous walk improves cognitive functioning and mood. The avoidance paradox. Avoidance is a short-term fix that causes more and more anxiety in the long term. There are many ways we avoid what we fear. We avoid by indecision, by not showing up, by not following through on commitments, by distracting ourselves with meaningless activities, by making excuses and rationalizations. No longer avoiding what you fear means paying attention to how you feel, not just at the moment you avoid, but over the longer term. Sure, avoidance brings a temporary reprieve. I'm dreading facing my boss today. I'm going to call in sick. What a relief to not have to deal with that jerk. The temporary relief reinforces the tendency to avoid. But the reprieve is almost always short-lived. New anxiety creeps in and takes over. What felt like the sweet taste of freedom becomes bitter with self-critical thoughts about the consequences your avoidance may bring. What will your boss think of you for not showing up? What if you get fired? How will you pay your bills? Are your colleagues criticizing you for not coming in? Far from relaxing and enjoying a day off, you're spinning back and forth in your mind. Eventually, all that anxiety keeps you stuck in avoidance. You don't go to work not only that day but also the next day and perhaps even the next. Now you likely have actual negative consequences to face. Avoidance feels protective in the short term, but in the longer term generates real peril and more anxiety than ever. It's worth keeping in mind that the fundamental problem is not the anxiety, but how you respond to it. Ask yourself if you reflexively avoid or overreact to things that pose no real danger to you. Things that, had you paused and considered more carefully, you might have realized weren't actually such a big deal. By avoiding the things or situations that trigger you, you're essentially deciding that they are too much for you to manage when, in reality, you could deal with them. This diminishing ability to believe in yourself only increases future avoidance. Among other misleading thoughts, your anxious mind probably seriously underestimates your capabilities. Let's look at how to start changing your tendency to avoid it. Strategy. What is avoidance gaining you? Avoidance is a short-term fix that causes more and more anxiety in the long term. Try this writing exercise to inspire motivation and focus on longer-term, consistent relief versus quick fixes that never last and have negative consequences. Write down 2 lists in your notebook. 1. All the benefits of avoidance. Be very honest with yourself here, no one else is reading this list. Write down why you avoid and the positive feelings that come when you do. Try to emotionally connect with the feelings, for example, the relief of pressure or the power of managing to get out of something. 2. All the benefits of not avoiding. How would you feel about yourself? Improved self-esteem, proud, less shame, strong. What goal might you gain? Greater joy, increased productivity, closer friendships, increased work competence, increased spontaneity. Now compare the 2 lists. Which list has more in it for you for the long term? Which list makes you feel better beyond the moment and also helps you achieve broader goals for yourself? Set your intention now on what you want going forward. Change your relationship with anxiety by accepting it. Anxiety serves an important function. Worry and concern enable us to tune in, connect with others, take care of ourselves, and have empathy. Anxiety also motivates us to set goals, take action, and pay attention to what matters. The author, in his practice, sometimes sees people who don't have enough anxiety. That might sound strange, but they come in feeling unmotivated, lost, and without purpose. Chances are, if you live with anxiety, you're fully invested in your life's course. You have the drive needed to achieve an enriching and meaningful life. The key, however, is not to squander your precious energy on a struggle against anxiety. Many of us have a sense that we aren't living a good, or happy, or correct life if we experience even low levels of distress. If you feel this way, you probably expend a lot of energy trying to prevent the unpreventable. Joy, love, and pleasure are magnificent aspects of life. However, in the small print on life's contract, you'll find that hardship, loss, suffering, setbacks, and, yes, anxiety, are also part of the deal. Instead of trying to rid yourself of things that can't be changed, like distress and discomfort, change your relationship with anxiety by accepting it. Give up the futile struggle against your feelings and allow your anxiety to come and go, as feelings always do. Accepting anxiety doesn't mean you're a victim of it or that you're giving up and allowing it to control you. Acceptance doesn't even mean you like what you're experiencing. Acceptance is the idea that it is what it is. When you look out the window and see rain, you don't say to yourself, "It's raining, I have to fix this." You also don't say, "I'm a victim of the rain," or "I'm being abused by the rain," or "It's raining, I give up." Perhaps you don't love the rain, but you pull out an umbrella, you keep moving forward, and you know that eventually, the rain will stop. Strategy, your best life. The story you tell yourself about who you are and what you can and can't do influences every aspect of your life. Although you may take your story as fact, it is not. The accumulation of negative experiences over time can give us a sense of ourselves that is entirely false. We are so accustomed to our story that we don't challenge it or recognize the ways it blocks our growth. Your story can be changed. Rewrite your story so it can support who you truly want to be. In this process, consider which ideals, values you care about and want to cultivate. Write about what your best life would look like and also how you would feel on the inside if you were actually living this life. Write specific, achievable, action items that will move you toward living this life starting now, today. Don't believe everything you think, slow down, create space to observe your thoughts and see if they're as real as they might seem initially. Your resilience, and your capacity for growth are actually much stronger than your anxious thoughts, although it probably doesn't feel like that most of the time. For the anxious mind, a flood of worry can rise in a matter of minutes, sweeping you away to a place where what began as a passing thought becomes in your head an absolute truth. If you watch your thoughts carefully, you will catch yourself jumping to extremes and generalizations. Imagine you get a ticket for a minor fender bender, and then you have the thought, "What if they sue me?" Anxiety quickly evolves that thought into, "They are going to sue me." Or say you get some negative feedback at work and have the thought, "My boss sees problems with my work." Anxiety steps in, and the thought becomes, "I'm going to get fired." Or you realize your mom hasn't returned your phone calls and you wonder why. Anxiety turns wondering into, "She must have had an accident." Or, you realize your partner hasn't returned a text all day, and you worry, "My partner doesn't care about me anymore," quickly followed by, "He's leaving me." This pattern of taking one small, worrisome thought to an extreme can also be initiated by a physical sensation: "My heart is beating fast. I must be having a heart attack." There are all sorts of frightening, unlikely places your anxious thoughts will take you, but only if you let them. Believe it or not, you can intervene and slow this process down. When we slow down, we create space to observe our thoughts and see if they're as real as they might seem initially. So, the thought, "I'm going to get fired," becomes, "I'm having the thought that I'm going to get fired." The thought, "My girlfriend is breaking up with me," becomes, "I'm having the thought that she's breaking up with me." Taking a more curious and observational stance makes room to challenge the accuracy of your thoughts and weigh their usefulness to you. Strategy, identifying negative thought patterns. Developing awareness of your negative thought patterns will help you take the steps needed to make you feel better sooner. When you become aware that you're experiencing anxiety, stop and take stock. Write your answers in your notebook so you can delve into them. What is a scenario that is anxiety-inducing for me, including situations, interactions, events, and images? Example, every time my boss is short with me, I withdraw because I feel anxious and worried that I'm not in good standing at work. Example, every time my boss is short with me, I withdraw because I feel anxious and worried that I'm not in good standing at work. What anxious thoughts am I having, or did I have, about this scenario? He doesn't like me. He's going to give me less work and make me unessential. I'm going to be rendered useless at work. He doesn't like me. He's going to give me less work and make me unessential. I'm going to be rendered useless at work. How might my thoughts be distorted? Label errors in thinking. Catastrophizing, overgeneralizing, all or nothing thinking. What does it mean about me as a person if my most fearful thoughts are true? I'll lose my job. I'll be embarrassed. I won't meet work goals. What does it mean about me as a person if my most fearful thoughts are true? I'll lose my job. I'll be embarrassed. I won't meet work goals. People will know I'm incompetent. What core belief was triggered? Helplessness. How can I test out my core belief to see if I'm missing some information? The next time my boss is short with me, I won't withdraw but instead will ask questions about what he's looking for to see if I've missed anything. Changing the voice in your head to be more self-supportive and nurturing. Anxiety increases in intensity when a person's internal narrative is filled with harsh judgments around good and bad, right and wrong. What we say to ourselves influences how we think about ourselves, what we communicate to others, and how much we believe in our competence and worth. Anxiety is further amplified when a person's internal narrative is overloaded with generalizations: always, never, forever, everything, nothing. Consider which of the following two statements is laden with greater intensity. 1. I suck, I'll never get a life. 2. I'm lonely and need to work on building social skills. The latter is hopeful. It acknowledges the emotion but also identifies a specific skill that could be developed to help with the feeling of loneliness. If you're struggling with anxiety, there's a strong chance your internal commentary is overly critical and harsh. But perhaps your anxious thoughts and behaviors about situations and events have more to do with the critical reaction you anticipate from others, and less to do with the situations themselves. Imagine a friend who, every time you hit a setback, tells you what you did to cause the problem and reminds you of all the times in the past you did the same bad thing. That is likely how you're treating yourself. People who make us feel good about ourselves and comfortable being ourselves are the ones we are most at ease with. Start relating to yourself in the way a warm, kind friend or family member would. Changing the voice in your head to be more self-supportive and nurturing will give you a bit of comfort, or padding, if you will, when negative, anxious thoughts kick in. Strategy: brainstorming. Take a more active, direct approach to working through your worries. Brainstorming is a technique whereby you take the pressure off yourself by acknowledging that there is no correct decision to make or right way to solve your issue. 1. Pick an issue that you worry about on a regular basis or a new worry that has come to mind. Write down a few sentences about the area of concern. 2. Now write down as many ideas as you can think of for how you could manage the issue. Pay no mind to how outlandish or impractical the ideas might be. There are no rules other than to let the creative juices flow. 3. The goal here is to open up your process and escape repetitive thought patterns. In fact, try to think of ridiculous solutions. This can actually reduce the seriousness you may feel about the particular worry. 4. Once you have a number of various solutions, think about how each possible solution would help or hinder the problem. Some things will feel impossible, and others will feel as if they barely help. Pick one that is reasonably doable. 5. Then take an actionable step, actively do something to relieve your anxiety over this particular issue. Conclusion. Human connection relieves anxiety. Looking at another person in the eye and sharing our vulnerable moments, aspirations, and setbacks soothes our nervous systems. If you've been caught in anxiety's grip for some time, you may not have had the mental space to sustain close family or friendship ties. One-on-one meetings with a therapist or group therapy are ways to start garnering some in-person support. Online anxiety reduction tools can also be helpful. Sharing your goals, progress, and setbacks with others offer a sturdy brace that will give you encouragement and perspective as you find your way. This strategy challenges your thoughts in a new way. The exercise is designed to help you distinguish between your actual experience and your interpretation of what you're experiencing. When we observe, not overthink, we become liberated from anxiety. 1. Bring all your attention to your heartbeat. Place a hand on your heart. Or see if you can turn your awareness inward and actually feel the beating within your chest. 2. Distinguish thoughts from experience. Thoughts might be, I can't find my heartbeat, or my heart is beating too fast, or I worry I have a heart condition. Rather than judgment or analysis of your heartbeat, experience your heartbeat, become aware of its rhythm. How does it feel thumping against the palm of your hand? 3. Like finding the beat in a song, your awareness is less thought-focused, did I get that lyric right, and more experience-focused, thump, thump, thump. 4. Sense your chest rising and falling in rhythm with the sensation of your heart's beating. See if you can notice how your heartbeat decreases as you observe it or increases as you become caught up in your thoughts.
Okay, guys, so we finished the book. It was really great. We've learned a lot of information from it. So just be calm. Always just, don't worry about the anxiety at all. Okay, you should get past it. Should apply the techniques in this book. I believe it's going to be really, really helpful. Alright, for you guys. So just follow my IG. I have a lot of content right there. Okay, all the insights from the book, I share it on my IG. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so the link in the description below. I'm just gonna put it here. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the book. Let me know in the comments what you think about the book and about the techniques in it. All right, and yeah, that's it. I love you all, guys, so much. You have a wonderful day.